Enough treating the Chargers like some polite AFC promise. This is pressure now. This is opportunity. This is real heat in Los Angeles. Omarion Hampton has a coach talking about a big year, and there is a heavy comparison floating around him. The secondary still needs answers. Left guard is turned into a survival fight, and one rookie on defense is already pushing a veteran out of his comfort zone. This script is not just a walk through headlines. This is a roster judgment. If you believe the Bolts cannot waste another window, hit that like button and come with me, because today the standard goes up. We start with the point that, to me, separates nice talk from serious football. Omarion Hampton. Because it does not matter if fans hear the offense is going to be more creative, that Mike McDaniel is going to create space, that Jim Harbaugh believes in the kid, if on Sundays the ball does not turn into production. And that is what changes the temperature of this story. Harbaugh did not toss out some random compliment. He said this is a big year for Hampton. Coming from that coach, that does not feel like minicamp kindness. It feels like a warning. Hampton already showed the flash. In his rookie season, right when it felt like he was starting to build momentum, he had that dynamic performance against the Giants. That spark, that feeling that Los Angeles finally had a running back who could bite off yards and break a defense's rhythm. Then the ankle hit like a brutal stop sign. 2 months out, when he came back, still trying to get his legs under him, he hurt the other ankle against Houston. The result? He basically lost the rest of the year and reached the wild card game against New England without any real chance to be the factor the Chargers needed. That is exactly why year 2 cannot be treated like simple development. No, this is the kind of season where a player has to take the job by force. Hampton said he likes McDaniel's scheme a lot, that the running backs are getting into the groove and figuring out the details. That sounds simple, but in the run game, it matters. Details are angles. Details are patience. Details are seeing the lane before it opens. And in a system that can manipulate linebackers, create cutback lanes, and speed up decisions, Hampton has the body, burst, and vision to stop being an interrupted promise. Then there is the comparison McDaniel reportedly made to Terrell Davis, and that is not something you just brush aside. Davis was the 1998 NFL MVP, a 2-time Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl MVP, a monster at his peak. Nobody is saying Hampton is already that, but when an offensive coordinator looks at the top running back in Los Angeles and sees traits at that level, the message inside the building is aggressive. The ceiling they see in him is much higher than a lot of people outside the building want to admit. And with Keaton Mitchell and Kimani Vidal also fighting for touches, even better. Depth does not threaten Hampton. It pushes Hampton to become the guy. If he stays healthy in this scheme, 1,000 yards cannot be some quiet little dream. That has to be the floor. The Chargers need a run game that hits first, not one that asks permission. Hampton has the chance to turn flashes into identity, and if he does not grab that chance now, the AFC is not going to wait. From there, the conversation shifts from offense to defense without losing any pressure. Mandatory minicamp wraps up. The team heads into that break before training camp, and there are positions where you can breathe. Cornerback is not one of them. Dante Jackson, Tarheeb Still, and Cam Hart give you a base. Dean Leonard helps a ton on special teams and can give you defensive snaps. Nico Reed is trying to grow, but if Los Angeles is serious about being more aggressive on defense, it cannot look at that room and pretend everything is settled. That is where Tyrique Stevenson enters as an uncomfortable but interesting possibility. He is in the final year of his rookie deal with the Chicago Bears. He is a big boundary corner. He has the size to deal with larger receivers, and in 2025 he was pointed to as Chicago's best man coverage corner. That lines up directly with what Chris O'Leary seems to want. A defense that is less passive, more willing to challenge man-to-man, and more aggressive in its structure. But the ugly part has to be faced too. Stevenson is still tied to that brutal 2024 Fail Mary play, when he was seen taunting Washington fans with his back turned to the snap, then misplayed the ball and tipped it right into the game-winning Commanders' touchdown. That was a heavy mistake, the kind that sticks to a player's helmet, and he admitted later that the backlash still hurt. That is exactly where a smart team has to separate public label from real value. The Chargers do not need to trade for embarrassment. They need to identify talent that might be available at a discount because the situation went sour. Chicago moved up in the draft to take Malik Muhammad. They are pushing the rookie, and if that battle leaves Stevenson on the outside, Joe Hortiz has to at least make the call. No drama, no desperation, but with aggression. Steve Clinkscale has already shown he can put defensive backs in better spots. A fresh start in Los Angeles, inside a room that needs size, coverage, and competition, would make sense. And after the Keenan Allen trade, the Chargers and Bears already know the road to a conversation. The question is not whether Stevenson is perfect. He is not. The question is whether Los Angeles is going to wait until the problem gets too expensive before attacking a possible solution. And if Hampton is about explosion, the left guard battle is about survival. Every Chargers fan knows this pain. You can draw up pretty plays, you can have an elite quarterback, you can promise a modern offense, but if the interior of the line caves on the wrong snap, the season turns into emergency mode. Right now, left guard is still open. Kayode Awosika seems to have jumped ahead early. Jake Slaughter is trying to make a transition that is not small, and Trevor Penning returned to full work right when this fight needed to get more uncomfortable. Penning does not come in as a fan favorite. No sugarcoating it. The 2025 trade, sending a 6th-round pick to New Orleans, did not excite many people. Bringing him back on a one-year, $3.5 million deal did not exactly make the fan base jump out of its seat either. And the numbers explain the hesitation. Between the Saints and Chargers in 2025, he allowed 26 pressures and 5 sacks on 346 pass-blocking snaps, according to Pro Football Focus. He ranked 64th out of 81 qualified guards by PFF grade. That is not a resume that demands applause. But this is where the debate gets tougher, because this roster does not need popularity at that position. It needs an answer. Penning played at least one snap at every offensive line spot except center, and when he appeared at right guard for Los Angeles, he allowed just 1 sack over 3 games there. He also played in a zone blocking system with Kellen Moore in New Orleans, which could help him adjust to what Mike McDaniel wants to build. Awosika has value, but his profile is more limited. Depth, some starting experience, 11 starts over 4 years in Detroit, and 10 pressures allowed on 168 pass-blocking snaps last season. Slaughter has intelligence and youth, but he came out of Florida as a center and did not play guard snaps in college. So even with clear flaws, Penning is also the only player in this competition with heavier starting experience at the NFL level. That is the part that should frustrate you and fire you up at the same time. Frustrate you because the Chargers are still searching for stability at a position that protects the spine of the offense. Fire you up because the competition finally has healthy bodies, pads are coming, and there is a coordinator who may be able to maximize fit. I want to see the Chargers war room in the comments. Would you back Penning if he wins it on the field? Or does this job have to belong to Awosika or Slaughter no matter what? Then comes a story a lot of people might brush off as a minicamp note, but I am not buying that small read. Genesis Smith picking off Trey Lance in 7-on-7 does not define a career, crown a starter, or knock a veteran down by itself. But when a rookie safety starts showing up in the exact area where this roster needed range, coverage, and youth, the conversation changes tone. The Chargers added a lot on offense, bringing in Tyler Biadasz, Cole Strange, Charlie Kolar, Keaton Mitchell, Alec Ingold, Brennan Thompson, and David Njoku for important roles in Mike McDaniel's plan. On defense, the outside movement was more controlled, with Dalvin Tomlinson coming in as a major piece in the middle, so the draft had to deliver impact. Akeem Mesidor arrived with first-round status. Nick Barrett enters the development pipeline. But Genesis Smith is making noise too early to be treated like a footnote. The position matters. When Derwin James slides into the nickel, that second safety spot becomes extremely valuable. Elijah Molden looks pretty secure as a starter, but behind him, there is a real fight between Tony Jefferson, R.J. Mickens, and Smith. Jefferson came back on a one-year, $1.5 million deal, and the respect is real. He is a competitor. He is physical. He is a veteran. He knows football. But the NFL is cruel to players who start losing coverage ability downfield. The heart can still be strong, the instincts can still be sharp, but if the legs do not match, good offenses hunt that without mercy. Smith brings the exact trait that shakes up this battle: coverage ability in the deep part of the field. In his final college season, he had 6 pass breakups and allowed a 91.4 passer rating when targeted, according to Pro Football Focus. That is not perfection, but it is a clue. That is the kind of profile that lets a defense breathe more, disguise better, close windows, and punish quarterbacks who think they have space. The pressure point is tackling. He missed 18 tackles in his final college season, 11 of them over his last 6 games. If Smith wants to steal snaps from Jefferson, flying to the ball will not be enough. He has to finish. The Chargers' defense cannot live on almost plays, almost contact, almost stops. But if he cleans that up, Los Angeles could have an ascending playmaker fighting for snaps immediately. Then Jefferson stops being a volume solution and becomes more of a leadership piece, while Smith and Mickens push the ceiling of the secondary higher. In the end, these 4 stories are saying the same thing through different doors. The phase of asking for endless patience is over. Hampton has to become the engine. Hortiz has to watch the cornerback market without getting passive. Left guard has to deliver real protection for Herbert. And Genesis Smith has to prove that youth and instinct can raise the ceiling of this defense. The Chargers have talent, coaching, a quarterback, and pieces emerging. Now they have to turn signals into impact on the field. Drop it in the comments, 0 to 10. How confident are you that Los Angeles comes out of camp stronger than it went in? If you live this team for real, subscribe and stay charged. Bolt up!